Hello, everyone. It is Chronicles of a Christian Creative, CCC. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to this exciting episode. Well, I'm not really doing much of shouting and talking this time around because this particular topic we're talking about, I can totally relate with it. And it's about overcoming creative blocks and finding inspiration.
Yeah, so creative block is something I think every creative at some point in their career or in life generally have had to go through. Personally, I have experiences to share in that regard. So we'll be sharing our experiences
Yeah.
and how we overcame it in that sense. We hope that these tips that we use would also work for you. And that's what we're going to be doing today.
Yeah, and in case after watching this video you have something to say about it, you have tips as well, or maybe you just want to. In fact, we would love to have your
Yeah,
experiences as well,
we
because I
would.
mean, I know everybody, creatives most especially, have had their own fair share of creative blocks. So speaking of creative blocks, I'm a writer, a copywriter, communication strategist, and so I think people tend to differentiate creative blocks and they also say writer's block. Which one is
Yeah.
more safe?
I think any block is any block.
It's block.
Whether
Everything is just blocking.
whether a graphics designer, a video editor, a copywriter, whatever.
So that means we definitely have graphic design block, video editing block, just like we have writer's block. So my experience of having a writer's block is terrible, because I mean it gets very difficult to a particular point that you can't even string the alphabet together. And it's always like I've had stages of it. It feels like it gets worse the more you get okay, what I want to say basically is it gets more difficult. The creative blocks gets more difficult the more knowledgeable you get in your field, if you understand what I mean. So like from the beginning days when you started in your career, myself for example, now when I was starting off as a copywriter, the type of creative blocks I have is quite different from the one I have now. I mean, as at then, I wouldn't say I have so much idea of like the intricacies of copywriting, content, and all. So, I get over it easily. Let me just use that word. But now that I have so much responsibility, I have so many deliverables, I have personal projects that I have to work on. It feels like there's a lot of clash, a lot of clash of ideas running through my head, and every of those ideas just want to come out all at once.
Yeah, so that's where your creative work.
Yes. So like I think about a lot of things at that. Maybe there's a particular project I'm working on at work. There's a personal project. There's a friend that is working on something, and then I am ruminating on everything I want to do. It gets to a point where I don't even know how to present it, and then everything just fades off.
Yeah, I think I get that. But for me, my creative block, it is not my block in Jesus' name. So what I'm going to say is to me, creative block comes in a different form. So I'm a creative storyteller. I write stories, short stories online that I publish. And so I'm also a copywriter. So where it comes from is having to balance copywriting and storytelling, if you get what I mean. So my mind is always churning out, thinking about the next story. And the way I write my stories in an exciting way, creative. So having to do things that I would consider not as exciting as that over and over again. So my 9 to 5 deals with a lot of writing.
So it's not as
It's not
interesting
as
as
exciting,
storytelling, I can imagine.
as storytelling.
I can
So if I
imagine.
do that consistently, say Monday to Friday, you now expect me to come up with one exciting story on Saturday. Sometimes it works, right? I have no issues with it. But it gets to a level where that story will not come out, no matter what I try. And then eventually it affects the other aspects of writing that I do as well, so that I can't even do anything at that point. And as well, I know a graphics designer that had a very terrible case of creative block. Like, this person could not do flyer. If I tell, say, put this text here, put this picture here, it was, yeah, it was just not coming together. It was tough to work with him because you know you have an idea as a writer of what you want it to look like.
You are not portraying it as
and it frustrates work. It really frustrates. So what were the steps that you took to overcome this block?
All right, so starting from where you talked about storytelling, I actually can quite relate with that because I also write stories. But over time, I tend to move, or let me say, I have moved from that part of me, just writing stories for fun, I write movie scripts too as well, to doing more of communication. And
so that's like corporate communication.
Yes. So it feels like that's taking that interesting, exciting, fun part of me, and then I'm more serious with my writing. So when I'm trying to bring back that playful part of me, it's always very difficult. I think that's where I have most of the issues right now. So to start writing scripts, to start writing stories, I remember back in the days, I write a lot of interesting stories. But now I can't. Before I know it, I've already started introducing content strategies. I'm already writing copy. I'm picking out caps inside the story. And you know, the worst part of it is that I don't usually know where the story will end. Most really when I'm writing a fiction.
I think that's the most difficult part, not knowing how it ends. Because it is to start.
I know the topic. In fact, I don't have issues with creating story topics. Like it comes within a snap of a finger. And I know how I want to start it, but I want to end. No, I don't know how to figure it out. It's always very difficult. So I don't know. That's one of the major issues I have. And basically, what I do most of the time is I try to read.
Okay, so are you saying what kind of books do you read?
It depends on what I'm writing. So quickly before I forget this, I wanted to say that this issue happens most times when I'm writing fictional stories. But if I'm using non-fictional stories, it tends to flow better. And then I know
because it's real life. You experience.
So I do that most times for my LinkedIn posts. So because there was a particular time too that I found it very difficult to post on LinkedIn to like consistently write.
I think I have a struggle with LinkedIn. We are in a toxic relationship.
So I pick real life stories. And then I communicate with my community from there. So that way I don't run out of content. So like I can pick a very random thing. I think there was a particular time that I picked on how I was almost squeezed to death when I wanted to enter a Mariwa. And then I found how to pick up a lesson from there. So I found that it worked for
mundane life.
So if you're a writer and you're probably struggling with putting out content, maybe on LinkedIn or any of your social media pages, you can try picking up especially if you're interested in writing non-fictional stories, you can pick up something that happens in your day, a very minute something. Like even if you're a creative or you're a graphic designer, you're a video editor, you're a product designer, and you want to write something on what you do. You don't have to be a writer before you are able to communicate or write.
That's important.
So you can pick something. Let's say you designed, you tried out a new design skill today. You can pick it up, talk about where you learned it from, what motivated you. If you have friends that are working with you, you can tag them. That's how you build content. I remember I have a friend that is not a writer, but is a product designer. So, I mean, he wanted to be putting out content on social media, LinkedIn most especially, and he was wondering, I'm not a writer. How do I put out content? How do I write consistently? And I remember telling him that you don't really have to be a writer before you're able to write. Just pick something. And I feel like for people that design, they have more interesting stories to tell because they can always talk about their design process. It's a lot. So you can pick tiny, tiny bits of it to talk about it. So let me go back to how I definitely battle my own creative blocks. Before I digress a lot. So basically, if I'm writing fictional stories, I read books like poetry. I read what's it called? Drama. And a lot of books that I know that resonates with the particular type of writing I want to write. Like a few days ago now, I was trying to write a movie script and then I had to go and watch the types of movie that I want to portray. So
did that help?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Because I mean, I was looking for a particular plot twist.
Yeah.
I wanted to replicate it. I didn't want it to be cliche like every other type of movie script. So I had to go and look for some specific type of movies to watch. And I think I watched about 10 of them. And then at the end of the day, I was able to
10 movies.
Yes. I was able to get
Who is your employer? 10
I wasn't
movies.
watching it for the fun of it now. I was just trying to pick out what I needed. It wasn't like I watched from beginning to the end.
Okay.
I was just,
that's fair enough. Please don't fire her.
Yeah. So basically, and sometimes I just stay off writing for a very long time. I can decide not to write. I will stop writing because when I try to write, it's always difficult to put words together. So I stay off writing. I can listen to songs. I can take a walk. I can talk to friends. Just something outside what I do normally. So that it takes my brain out of that space. And by the time I'm coming back
refreshed. Yeah. So last year I had a bad case of writer's block. It was towards the end of the year anyway, so it wasn't so obvious because I mean I have a job, guys. I do. So I had this very terrible case, and I come to work every day. As I'm resuming, I'm entering one cubicle to see a movie. I was just doing that back to back to back. And I had a structure for the things that I write. So I didn't have to think too much. So I think the steps that I feel that you can apply in whatever aspect of creative work that you do is take a step back first. That is the first thing you should do. Don't try to force yourself to do those things that you would usually do.
It can even lead to a burnout.
Yeah, so take a step back and try to decompress. I feel like it comes from a level of pressure as well. Yeah. Maybe you've been doing jobs back to back to back to back, and then it gets to a state where you can't just do it anymore. See, your body knows when it needs rest. Listen to your body. Pay attention to it. That time I was looking for any hangout, spa, anywhere to just go to so that I can just relax. As in my body was just telling me, relax. I needed to, honestly. So what I did was I took a step back, and as a Christian as well, I prayed about it because I didn't want something that would disrupt my workflow for so long a period. Actually, it's not healthy. Yeah, so the first thing I did was actually I prayed about it. That was the first thing I did. So after I prayed about it, I was no longer concerned. I just, God, I've handed it over to you. The next things that I would do, I started seeing movies. I was reading books, doing a lot of all that. So I also realized that it helps, like you said, to look for things that are in the area of the things that you want to do. Yeah. So if you're a graphic designer, watch creative movies. No, don't ever say graphic movies, because graphic movies tend to be bloody. So I don't mean graphic movies in that sense, but something, but something fun, something with colors, where you can see a lot of graphic designs. It will probably inspire you to do something. It doesn't even have to be work. You can just see something and then you decide that I want to do a wallpaper for my phone. Do it. And that was how it worked for me. I just decided to live my life. And then I saw a movie and then it clicked. I just realized that, it's true. I've had an experience that is similar to this. That was how I wrote my story. Like I just moved past the block. But the thing is that I know that it's important to not pressure myself. Because we're trying to overcome creative block. You can pressure yourself as well. You feel like 3 weeks, you're still having to get out of it. Like get out of it.
Self time to recuperate.
Yes. So I didn't pressure myself at all. I just relaxed.
It's like your brain is forcefully taking a recess.
Yes.
And then you really, really need to slow down. And then you have to master how to slow down. So you can't force your brain out
of a block.
Yes. That's why it's called a block.
Yeah.
So you have to gradually phase out of it. And then me, personally, I would suggest that you just stay off work for a while.
Yeah, what if it's a situation where
you have deliverables?
Yes, and you can't stay off work?
I mean, that can be very, very, very difficult.
What do you do? We're asking you that question as well. What do you think you can do in a case where you are having a creative block and you have a ton of deliverables? And
I feel like that's where even these inspirational materials or videos that you mentioned come in. Yes, and then there's nothing wrong with probably taking a walk or having a talk with a friend. There are friends that, maybe a talk that you have with a friend can even spark up your inspiration or creativity. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Can be of help. I mean, like I said, I feel like people can take time off work. In most cases, it might not be applicable.
Like a leave of work.
Something like that. But if it is
works.
possible for you to take a leave, please do.
Please
take a leave. Take. And I think there was a particular time that I did that last year. It was very well. So it was the end of the year. I was very stressed out. So I took 2 days off. I was just at home. I just sat down. I was sleeping. Really. And by the time I was back to work, I was
energized and refreshed.
It worked for me.
Yeah.
So if you're a creative out there and you're having this type of issues, you're having a creative block, and you have the opportunity to take a leave off work, please do. Even if it's 1 day, even if it's half day, just stay away from work. Take yourself out. Go to a restaurant. Sit. Eat. If you can't do it, sleep. I'm serious. Because this creative block that we're talking about is a very serious issue. Really. And it can ruin your creativity. So if you don't take care of yourself,
deal with it,
throughout the process, by the time you come back, it might not remain the same. Really, as creative, we have to try to keep ourselves up to date. Keep that creative juice. Keep it flowing.
Keep it flowing.
Yeah. So anything that can make it stop flowing, please.
Do away with it. That's what we are saying. Yeah. So guys, we don't know it all. And so we'd like to hear from you. We're
just sharing our own experience.
Exactly. What works for me might not work for you.
Actually.
So we want to learn from you what worked for you. Other people might learn from you.
I really want to hear people's stories. So please do try to drop it in the comment box. We want to hear what you have to say.
And as you are dropping it in the comment section, make sure you subscribe.
Yes, so
you will see me in your sleep if you don't subscribe.
Don't let's do that.
We should not go to their sleep, Abby.
No violence.
No.
Just like, comment, share with your friends.
Please share.
Let them come and comment.
Yeah. And please follow us on all social media platforms at Chronicles of a Christian Creative.
Yes. And stay tuned too for upcoming episodes. We have very, very interesting episodes. And we are going to be having more guests.
Yes, we'll be having more people come around
on
to
this
share with us.
Don't worry, this time around we are very calm because
the topic of discourse.
Yes, peculiarity of the topic. But next episode, don't expect this calmness. So we're coming in with vibes and energy.
Yeah, E for energy. E for energy.
Yeah.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.